Yeah, I think this one should have been left buried. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull next.
Legend says that a crystal skull was stolen from a mythical lost city in the Amazon, supposedly built out of solid gold, guarded by the living dead. Whoever returns the skull to the city temple will be given control over its power.
You will help us find it. A simple yes will do.
And welcome to Fantasy Picks Movie Edition. My name is Rob. I have with me Ralph.
How's it going?
Awesome. And today joining us is Mark.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Mark. How's it going?
Doing all right.
All right. So, as always, what's going on with you guys?
Not much.
not a whole lot. Just watching Indiana Jones for the third time today.
For the third, you watched it 3 times?
Well, the first 2 times I didn't go through it all the way.
Just skim all to the parts that you liked.
This is the go through where I'm watching it to see if the video problems were from streaming or if it's actually part of the actual production.
So one of the cool things, have you guys seen the Super Bowl, all the announcements they did with all the movies?
Most of them, I saw most of the ones. The trailers I was looking forward to are more Marvel based.
Which one are you looking for?
Moon Knight and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
I have to say that trailer looked awesome.
Oh yeah.
You know, that was pretty impressive. And Moon Knight, I'm still holding out on judgment on that. It looks a little cartoony in some places, but they say that it's going to be the darkest one.
Yeah, from what I've read, it's going to be pretty hard hitting. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, if DC's showing Marvel anything, it's like you can do the graphic nature and still save the vibe of the actual the characters and make something work.
Yeah, the one thing that people have been criticizing is the Spawn-like costume, where the costume comes alive and just wraps around them. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to work. But one of the cool things I saw was that they announced the release date for Top Gun 2, which is May 22nd. And then Ring of Power, the trailer for Ring of Power actually came out. What do you guys think about that?
I'm looking forward to that. That's Amazon Prime. That's based on a Lord of the Rings, and I really look forward to that. My friend Anwen is looking forward to it because she lives in New Zealand and she was an extra in the original movies
nice.
Down there. And she did the tours for where the filming locations were in New Zealand. So I look forward to that. She heard some good buzz because she lives not too far from Weta, and her brother-in-law works for that film company as well too. So it's something to look forward to. The effects and the visuals look really good.
Cool. Was she involved in this one at all, or
no? She was just looking forward to it because she just loves the rings.
Hey man, I'm looking forward to it too. It looked pretty good. I mean, as always, internet chatter is, some people complain about it, but Amazon did anything as close as Peter Jackson, then awesome. Although I did hear a rumor that Amazon wants to redo the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So
they could actually do that for the fact that more than enough time has passed, and they could easily integrate it within to move in succession of this. Because the Ring of Power, from my understanding, is based upon the Silmarillion and how the rings are made and forged, and then it moves on, and they could easily continue with the story, which is
right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no, and you know what? If they do a good job, I'm all for it. If this series, when it comes out, and it looks like crap, and it is crap, then probably they shouldn't touch it. But
yeah,
I guess we'll reserve judgment on that. What do you guys think of the Nope trailer? That actually impressed me.
That was really intense. It makes me want to go see it.
Yeah. The only thing that worries me is the path that Jordan Peele is taking. So I think I was discussing with Ralph. So he's pretty much like M. Night Shyamalan, except that so if you think about it, like when M. Night Shyamalan had The Sixth Sense, where that's where he really took off. So, and then of course Jordan Peele had his first movie. What was the name of that movie?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Talking about the Jordan Peele movie.
The first one.
The first one. No Way Out. Is that
That's
what it
not
was?
the name.
That was a No Way Out.
That was not. That's.
That's a Kevin Costner film
That's
from
a
the
Kevin-
late
right.
80s.
Get out.
Get out. That's
there
it.
you go. So yeah, he has Get Out, and he got a lot of buzz about that, and then he did the last movie, Us. That was pretty good.
Hmm.
And now his third film seems like it's an alien film, just like M. Night Shyamalan. But then after that, M. Night Shyamalan really just his career just kind of went down the drain that way. And I'm hoping Jordan Peele doesn't follow the same.
M. Night's
trajectory.
making a comeback right now with Apple TV Plus with Servant, so
Hey, I've been watching that, and let me tell you, that is actually a really good, creepy show.
yeah.
So that's pretty good. And then, of course, we saw Jurassic World, the trailer for that, which is June 10th.
Yep.
That seemed pretty good, and they say that's the last one, so let's hope that's true.
I wish they would have saved the surprise for the movie.
For what?
Yeah.
That they got the original cast back in it.
They
Oh.
couldn't. Leaks happen.
Yeah, but still, like, not everybody's sick and reads the internet. So, like,
Yeah.
like that's something I probably wouldn't have noticed. I wouldn't have read too much. And like, I try to avoid stuff around the movie stuff, like all the Marvel stuff. And
You just can't get away from it, man. I wish you could.
well, the sites I generally go to, like, it'll say something, it'll post to say it's spoiler. I just avoid it, and as long as you don't say something, Rob, we're good.
Oh, very
Okay.
much like how I was spoiled on the last episode of Peacemaker when I just looked and it's like, oh, by the way, I'm like, really? I did not need to see that. Okay, I'm watching it anyway.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And then the Obi-Wan date also got announced, which was May 25th, but I don't think that got announced on the during the Super Bowl. But it's kind of cool the fact that they're going to do that. And then the Boys animated series. Have you guys seen that announced?
I saw it announced. I'll be covering The Boys when that comes back on Amazon Prime for the new season on Panels to Pixels podcast, but we'll probably give a mention to it when we talk about upcoming things.
Yeah, I'm looking for it. I saw it the other day for the first time, and I was like, oh, okay, this is new. And hopefully they're probably going to do something like a style of the Invincibles, or is it Invincibles? Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
Invincible, the way they got away with that when Jamie and I were covering that is the fact that with animation, you could go all out, and this is more of an adult animation, and it cuts their budget in half.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I thought that was actually pretty cool. And then of course, I actually, the movies that I've been trying to, that I've been watching, Nightmare Alley. Have you guys seen that?
Nah.
I haven't yet.
It got nominated for Oscars and everything, big buzz, and it's what is it? Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah.
I could not get into it. I am still trying to watch. I watch it I think 10 minutes at a time because it's just, I don't know, it's just not for me. I'm still expecting monsters, to come out, and that's not the case on that.
Well, it sounds, from the way you're talking about it, it sounds kind of like Knives Out, where everybody was raving about that movie, and I watched it. It was good. It was okay, but I knew exactly who did it, like in the first half an hour of the movie, and that so the whole time I'm just like, how are they going to reveal that it was this character that did the crime?
Right.
And it wasn't very. I think the thing that kept me along with that movie was the cast itself, because there are so many people in it, and all good actors and actresses, and but
Right.
I didn't see where the hype train came from for that movie. And there's a sequel coming out for it.
Yes.
Yeah. The only person coming out in the sequel, I think, is Daniel
Craig.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I hear, that only he's coming back. And then I just watched, and you know what? the Book of Boba Fett, I have to say that wasn't my favorite. I don't know how about you guys.
The last few episodes were basically The Mandalorian.
Pretty much, and those were the best episodes. That's what really got to me. I have no idea why Boba Fett needed to take off his helmet all the time. But yeah, no, I wasn't too crazy about it. But it did make me look forward to the next season of The Mandalorian, which I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we'll get more answers based upon that. I think the reason why they threw The Mandalorian in there is for the fact that it had already made such a huge success for Disney Plus, and that's how we were already introduced or reintroduced to Boba Fett. So here is Mando coming in to add a little to the story, and it kind of took away from it. And of course, bringing in Luke and a really good fake out of Luke.
That was actually, and it's funny because the reason it looked so good, from what I hear, was when the first one they did on The Mandalorian, which was okay. Somebody on the internet went ahead and did a deep fake, which was better than what they did, and they hired the guy.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense.
It's like, you know what? If you did it better than us, come over here. No, but it's true, man. I just think that those last few episodes were great, but it was only because of that.
Yeah. The best part of it was in the very beginning when we get the history of how he got out of the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, which a lot of people always, said, hey, how did that happen? And on comic books, I know they covered it.
Well, also Patton Oswalt also ruined it for us when he talked about it on Parks and Rec and got it exactly. And I think the writers said, hey, Patton Oswalt did this as a whimsical thing in Parks and Rec. We need to steal that story. And it was very much accurate to it.
Yeah. And I bet you they didn't pay me a single dollar.
Probably not.
He's like, they took my shit and they ran with it. Yeah, and also
he's such a nerd though that he probably didn't care and loved it.
Oh
yeah.
Hey, listen, man. If somebody mentions me somewhere, I'll be like, hey, that's the best I'm gonna get, probably.
Yeah, it was basically paying fair to a story that he and supposedly from what I read about that was he actually made up that story on the fly.
Yep.
It wasn't even scripted.
Oh, look at that. And then Reacher, have you guys seen Reacher?
I saw the advertisements. I'm looking and interested into seeing it.
I have to say, it's actually pretty good. According to what I hear, like in the books, he's supposed to be a big, brawling looking guy, and they got him just right for the show. But it's pretty good. And I went back to watch the movie with Tom Cruise, and the movie with Tom Cruise is not that bad. It's just he's not the character from the book. But that being said, I mean, if they would have called it something else, it's not a bad movie or anything like that. But the biggest thing that that kind of really got to me was on the Oscar snub, which was Spider-Man. A lot of people thought that it was going to actually be nominated for Best Picture, and that did not happen. I mean, that's like always, with anything that has to do with pop culture. We get snubbed.
Yeah, well, maybe Scorsese did something about that because he really hates comic book films.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I heard that he really detested them. Well, I mean, but Scorsese hasn't done something good in a while, so.
Well, he did The Irishman, and that was, 3.5 hours worth of a movie, and honestly, that's a little bit overkill in my opinion. There's certain movies you can't really just sit down that long.
Yeah, that bored the shit out of me, though, I have to say. And then the fake, how they make them young and stuff like that just didn't look that great with Robert De Niro.
The de-aging? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, of course, that Spider-Man, and then the Dune director, the director for Dune got snubbed, too, even though the movie's nominated for 10 Oscars. So I was actually very surprised on that one. What do you think, Ralph?
I think Dune's awful, but
you didn't like Dune?
No, I didn't watch it yet.
I haven't watched it.
This is next on the agenda. Oh, you can't really see; it's blurred out. That's annoying. It's apparently we don't have sponsors yet. Resident Evil: Return to Raccoon City, or Welcome to Raccoon City. I haven't watched it yet.
That was pretty good.
Hopefully,
they had reviews, but
the Uncharted movie it seems like it might be the first actual video game adaptation movie that's gotten pretty good reviews and seems like it does well with the footage. The only thing going on to that is Nathan Fillion, who looks exactly, and I think he sounds exactly like the character.
Yeah.
Should have played the part instead of
Mark.
Oh yeah,
my boy Spider-Man. But like
Oh,
I
Tom
heard
Holland.
I heard Tom Holland does a great job with it. So we'll see.
well,
I'm probably gonna
the
try to
problem
check
with
that out.
Nathan is that he's a little older now. I mean, if you got him back in the Firefly days, then yeah, he would have been he would have done a great job on that. And as a matter of fact, he did do a short film on online.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that. I saw part of that and it looked pretty good. So, but yeah, talking about video game or movies that are like video games. I mean, let's get into our fantasy pick that we're going to destroy today, which is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. So
I am the lone defender of this movie.
you're the lone defender of this movie. Look, I mean, don't get
I'm
me
the-
wrong.
I'm the public defendant that's got appointed to the person who did the crime, and I have to figure out a way to defend this movie.
Look, man. I mean, we normally try to cover movies that were either a box office disappointment or critically it was disappointing. But this movie actually has 78% on Rotten Tomatoes, and this movie made some money. I mean, this thing had a budget of $185 million and made $790 million. So it made money.
Right.
The hardcore fans just did not like it, and it ranks very low, of course, between all four movies. Sometimes despised too. So, so as you get, so for anybody out there, spoilers ahead, but story of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is basically Indiana Jones has to find not only the legend of the Crystal Skull and figure that out, but also he is being pursued by the Russians because they also want whatever secrets the Crystal Skull actually has. And so in the movie, the cast of the movie is Harrison Ford, Shia LaBeouf, which turns out that he's Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones' son. Karen Allen comes back from the original Raiders of the Lost Ark. We have Kate Blanchett, who plays a Ukrainian soldier that's looking for the secrets of also looking for the secrets of the Crystal Skull, and then John Hurt as a friend of Harrison Ford. And of course, as you guys know, directed by Steven Spielberg and produced by Frank Marshall. So, guys, what are your thoughts on this movie?
It was entertaining. It gave all the themes and tropes of an Indiana Jones movie that we've gotten before, between Raiders all the way up to when he gets his little adventure with his father. But that was the first film since what, 89, 90 or something at that point?
Something like that, yeah.
So it took that long for us to get it, and Harrison Ford by this time is older, and hell, we're looking at an older Harrison Ford once they come out with this new movie. But it was meant to ride on the coattails of Indy's son that he just meets because he has to, Mutt seeks him out to find Professor Ox or Oxley. And that's
right.
Really the reason that begins his journey in the film, which is a good way to get him roped in. But they could have left out the alien story completely. They could have just went on the mystique of the Crystal Skull as it really is in this world, and how mysterious it is within this world that we are now, because they have them in museums and they are knowledgeable. They're known about this.
Right.
But they could have just left it in the lore of fantasy and unknown, just like how Raiders was with the Lost Ark, the Temple of Doom with the Sankara stones, and then you got the Holy Grail on the third one.
Right.
Originally, they had other ideas and thoughts for the story for this particular film. Originally, they wanted to do something in China, but they kind of threw that out. But we got what we got. And I think it was Lucas's way of saying, I want to put Star Wars in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, something like that. Because I also heard that it was supposed to also be taking place with the lore of the lost city of Atlantis, and then that got also thrown out. My biggest gripe on this movie is not only the alien part of it, of course. So when you think about Raiders of the Lost Ark, you think about Temple of Doom, you think about The Last Crusade. Most of it has to do with religious artifacts.
Yes.
You know, yeah, and even though the Sankara stones are really not based off of anything real, but the law, you know, the Ark and the Holy Grail pretty much are based off, you know, the Bible and stuff like that. So it's always based off of some kind of religious thing. This all of a sudden got based off of just aliens, and you know, Spielberg did not want to do anything with aliens, so of course Lucas called it, you know, what is it, a transdimensional beings or something like that.
Interdimensional beings.
Interdimensional, not transdimensional, but interdimensional beings. And
yeah, you can't mess that up in 2022, Rob.
Yeah,
brings on a whole new meaning of everything.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put a disclaimer on that, and probably do an apology later on. But yeah, no, so it was based off of that, and then I went ahead and watched all three movies. You know, the first three movies, and the one thing that really stuck out was that. So Lucas based these movies on the old serials that he used to watch when he was a kid.
Yep.
And so these films were filmed with actual film. There's just something, you know, the graininess of it. There's something that looks very Hollywood on this. You look at this movie, and as soon as it opens, you could see the digital work. And it just took me out of the whole Indiana Jones thing. It just looked way too sharp. It just seemed like everything was done in some kind of studio instead of actually in a location. It took me out of it. And then of course you have things like, you know, the Area 51 part of it, which was really cool because the fact that they revealed that the last part of Raiders of the Lost Ark is really in Area 51. I thought, okay, that's really cool. But then everything else after that just kind of seemed like, where were they going with this? And I feel like Spielberg was just like, listen, Lucas is my friend. I'm just going to do what he wants. He's getting old. So, what do you think, Ralph? You being the defender of this.
I think you have to watch the South Park episode that correlates to this movie being released, which is fantastic. Where it's the guys, the kids from South Park are having nightmares because said producer was raping Indiana Jones, and stealing all his pride and freedom from the youth of America by doing what he did in this movie. But yeah, I mean, honestly, go back to the story of it. I personally, I'm pretty sure if we go back, and you said you just watched them today, I'm pretty sure when they bring the stuff back, the Ark of the Covenant back into the warehouse and in the end of that movie, I'm pretty sure there's something in there that you can tell it's in Roswell. I think it was a label on one of the boxes or something. I remember because I went through this a couple years, like when this movie came out, and went back and watched the movies again. And then I noticed there was something in that one, and there was something in Temple of Doom, not Temple of Doom, in Last Crusade. In the Last Crusade, when he's in the room with the stone trying to find where the location of the Holy Grail was, he started talking about beings from other planes. And so they do make very subtle references to whether it be aliens or interdimensional beings throughout the series. And I thought it was kind of cool that they introduced. I honestly thought they were going for the ultimate, you know, turncoat thing, and that was going to have like ET pop out in the end and like make everything come full circle, and everybody really hate it. But they didn't do that, and I know, like, you know, Steven Spielberg definitely was like, from what I read, he was against doing anything with aliens because he did Close Encounters and because he did ET.
Right.
But I don't know. I like the story effect of it personally. Like going into an Indiana Jones movie, like I just how many times I've watched them throughout the years and from my childhood until adulthood. You go in just expecting like some silliness and then adventure and finding cool stuff, like everything that makes like a good video game. You're going into it, you're gonna have fun, you're gonna enjoy it, not going to be super serious with itself and have a good time. That being said, there's some stuff that we'll hit on later that, you know, could have been changed and probably could have made it better. I don't think the alien stuff, whether you take it out or leave it in, would change to me much of the story.
Oh, I
But
think
yeah,
it changes a lot, the story. I mean, especially towards the end.
I think they just went too deep into it.
Yeah.
I think if you still kept it as like like what they said, the interdimensional beings, and they didn't have that whole part with the spaceship and stuff like that going, and just making it too apparent, you could have did less with more and like just talked about it and like kind of ended it that way versus showing all this outlandish stuff.
Well, I mean, going into that, I mean, so what did you think, Mark, with a lot of the silliness that they had?
Well, the silliness to me was the monkey race. that race where Shia LaBeouf has to play like Tarzan and
right.
swing with the monkeys. The monkeys are attacking him. The issue with me was majorly towards the end. They could have left it and made it kind of vague with the aliens. My thought was just use the history of what the crystal skulls were in the real world and allude it to certain tribes, and at the very end allude to, oh wait, hold on, these were not, bring out a whole crystal skull, put it onto the remains of this alien's body or skeleton and making it complete, and then creating something to kill a woman and then bring out a whole flying saucer at the end.
Right.
Yeah, to me, it went a little bit too off the rails at the very end. Like Ralph was saying, it's meant to entertain you based upon those serials. It was a little bit over the top with the chases. You know, your typical Indiana Jones fashion. We get the using the snake to get him out of the quicksand, and then having to using his fear of, hey, grab the snake. No, don't call it a snake. Grab the rope
or something like that.
Yeah,
and that's the thing that I wanted to get into. You know, so there's like 5 scenes or 6 scenes that really stuck out to me. And the first one was using the shotgun pellets to see where the alien was because of the magnetism, which I thought was fucking ridiculous. You're telling me that this thing that's inside a crate, the only time that you will actually get any reaction from any kind of metal is when you open the crate. So you tell me a little thin piece of wood didn't do anything, right? But when you open it, all of a sudden the lights, you know, in the warehouse start to, you know, to turn towards the towards the crate. But the pellets, he could throw that in the air and just follow it, like if it was a, you know,
like it was like a bunch of bees.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you got to. Well, they were taking the gunpowder out of the grenade, so it's just gunpowder, which it's just flecks of metal. Outlandish, yes, but like it is practical. It would actually kind of work. Like I don't know if you ever used.
What are you talking about?
I'm telling you, I have.
Ralph,
I have the iridium. Yeah,
the thing took corners. All right.
No, I get that, but you gotta dispose yourself for reality for a movie.
You gotta suspend your disbelief at certain
points. If I took you know a handful of powder and like it was I think they're called iridium magnets.
I think you're correct. It's oil based and it's metal and oil, and a lot of people try to do alien symbiote costumes with it too.
Well, so like they're used with firearms and stuff like that to hold them to gear.
Okay.
Like those things, if you take 2 of those things and put them together and like you have a finger in the way, it'll break your finger. That's how strong they are. But like, yeah, outland like the throwing the powder up in the air and the way it, you know, traversed like, you know, a swarm of bees, little crazy. This suspend your belief on that part. But like the pellets, I thought was pretty cool. That's pretty ingenious. Like obviously it's Indiana Jones. He's always ingenious. Throwing them down the box and watching what box it goes to, that made a little more sense. But like, I mean, they could have used the card catalog and just found the box.
Yeah, it's like a library. Yeah, hold on.
Wait, I think it's over here.
Hold on. Does somebody remember the Dewey Decimal System? Let's look up where it is. UFO.
I mean, this took place in the 50s, so they knew it very well back then.
Exactly.
So while we're talking about that one scene, was that the Ark of the Covenant that they broke open?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and which I thought it was cool because that's how
I
that's
hope
how
that
you know that was the warehouse that 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 the
I
Ark.
hope that they're supposedly the rumor is they're revisiting the Ark of the Covenant for the fifth one.
Are they now?
So we'll see.
We'll see about that. Interesting. What is it? Behind the scene thing. That Ark of the Covenant that you saw in the movie was the actual one they used in Raiders.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and they had to have armed guards guard that piece of property because it's one of those hot items that a lot of collectors want and they would love to get their hands on the real one. So I'm like, I didn't realize that on a production movie that you would have to have armed guards for something like that, but it's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's wild that like they like. I mean, I guess if this movie came out in this day and age, like I know like shows like Punisher and stuff like that had I don't know how I got on this mailing list, but they had auctions for props from those shows,
Right.
and they went for a good chunk of change. And like with like you could get like the newspapers from the show,
Right. Yeah, the
the
prop store.
clothing, and like oh man, if they had, I'd be broke if they had an Indiana Jones on there.
Yeah. Oh no, they have it all the time. As a matter of fact, it's the prop store that does it. Every 6 months they do an auction. It's really cool. I mean, they do some really cool stuff. As a matter of fact, I hope they have the fridge that that Harrison Ford got in because I'll buy that. That's the next thing. Harrison Ford getting into a fridge and then getting flown like a mile or two out, and he's still okay. That was another ridiculous thing, and even Steven Spielberg said it was like, well, listen. It was really Harrison. What is it? It was really George Lucas's idea, but then Steven Spielberg said that it was his idea because he was trying to protect George Lucas. But then in the end, he actually said, "No, it was George Lucas's idea." And Lucas says, "Oh well, I read somewhere that you have a 50-50 chance to live." I'm like, it still looks stupid, man. It was just one of those things where I just like really.
Well, the one benefit behind that particular scene, it was entertaining in the sense of you got to see a testing site for nuclear weapons.
Right.
And the last time I had seen something like that in film was a remake of The Hills Have Eyes. I think it was a sequel. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, mind you, this could be also, hey, I think George Lucas and Steven were talking about Back to the Future when they were drinking too much one night, because Steven was involved with Back to the Future, which relates to this, because originally that story for Marty was to get into a refrigerator and be brought to a testing site or where they were going to blow up nukes, and that throws him back in time. So Lucas must have said, hey, let's do that.
Well, it's they call it "Nuke the Fridge," which is now an actual saying. Pretty much just like jumping the shark.
Yep,
is a saying also for movie, for
TV,
for a TV or something that has taken a course or a direction where the show really shouldn't. When you see that the show is probably going downhill, they'll try to do something really crazy. So they're also now the expression now is called "Nuke the Fridge." So thanks to this movie, that's the new expression on that. So, and then another thing that I thought was stupid. Let's talk the Shia LaBeouf thing because I can't get away from that. First of all, I think he was the wrong actor, and I think Steven Spielberg and afterwards found out that he picked the wrong actor. You, Mr. Defendant. What do you think about Shia LaBeouf being in that role?
I will never ever defend him. He was serviceable. I mean, it was. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know who you'd replace him with, and like,
So you could replace him with a trained dog, and it would have been better. Come on.
I have a few people. I have one person I think that would work better, but I think with Shia LaBeouf, they were trying to kind of satisfy the younger audiences because at that time Transformers was around.
No, it was huge. Yeah.
And his name was synonymous with blockbusters, and then he's alongside Harrison Ford. They bring back Karen Allen. You got John Hurt in there. You have major hitters as names for this film.
Right.
So, who else could you get at that time that was pretty much making their name through Hollywood with his talents? Would be Christian Bale would be a perfect replacement for LaBeouf, in my opinion.
I mean,
Christian Bale's the same age as
as
Harrison Ford.
Oh, he's not.
No,
He's not, but he looks it.
Well, if you
Then it fits because that would be his father, and they look very similar.
Actually, what was it? Sean Connery was only like what?
7 years older than Harrison Ford.
Exactly. So they all start young, man. No, but yeah. So, and the reason I bought that is because, like, the character itself of Mutt, I thought it seemed like it was just, hey, let's just give Harrison Ford a son, and let's just put a young person there, of course, to bring the young audience, which I really didn't feel like they needed to do that.
No.
But him bringing the motorcycle halfway around the world, and the motorcycle did nothing. Who the fuck puts a motorcycle in a plane? You bring it to Peru. You have it parked, but that motorcycle does nothing for the movie after that.
Nope.
And I just thought it was just like, why? Me being the director, I would be like, why are we putting the motorcycle in there? Just fucking get in the plane, go, and that's it.
Mm.
It was those little choices that really made me kind of go, okay, sure, why not?
The better scene, though, with the motorcycle is the chase throughout the town and the university and them going through the library. That's where it became useful. Especially when he's trying to stay on the motorcycle and they kind of crash in the library and the student asks, and it's that comical scene where the student asks, Dr. Jones, I have a question, and he gives him the answer, and he goes, well, you got to get out of the library. True archaeologists are out in the field, and then he gets on the bike and they go. And it suited the scene, but yeah, I agree with you. The motorcycle throughout, bringing it along makes no sense.
I saw the motorcycle in the plane. I'm like, okay, there's going to be some major motorcycle thing happening, and for the other part of nope, nothing like that.
I was gonna say, I mean that motorcycle had a great scene in the lovely city of New Haven, Connecticut. So
yeah, because I heard it was done in
it was filmed at Yale.
Yale or Harvard?
Yeah.
Oh, Yale. Yeah. And then that brings brings me to also the monkey race scene, which So here's the part of the movie that I thought really took a dive.
It really nuked the fridge.
Yeah, on that one. Yeah, exactly. Because it's like, okay, so Shia LaBeouf gets tangled on some vines. The vines actually take him up. I didn't realize that, the vines, can actually do that. And then he's hanging out with the monkeys. He catches up to motor vehicles by swinging through the trees with the monkeys. I didn't realize that monkeys only attacked, communist Nazis.
They're smart monkeys. And they showed him the right trajectory to beat the convoy to get to the car on time.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is so hard to believe.
So, all right, and then you have what was the other one? The ants.
Oh yeah, the killer ants.
The killer.
I blocked that out from when I watched this movie in the theater, apparently, because I don't ever remember that scene. I might have fell asleep during that part, but that would probably track well with my record of watching movies in the theater.
Hey,
but
listen, man, if Peru had ants like that, I doubt that anybody in South America would still be alive. Okay, because those things would just take a body away. But
Michael
I
Douglas,
love how they built a little tower to get Cape Blanchett. That was amazing.
Yeah. Michael Douglas and Paul Rudd would still be alive because they're Ant-Men. Be able to, and it could handle that because they were able to handle the bite of a bullet.
If you would have put Ant-Man in this, I would have believed that more.
How do you know he wasn't? He could have been mixed in amongst those millions of ants that they were getting chased by. All in the imagination. That's where they should have left the aliens.
No, exactly. And then, of course, what is it? Karen Allen, when they took off, through the off the cliff, and then the tree just gently put them in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, these are the things that I'm like when I see these movies, because if you go back to like Raiders had some crazy stuff, but it wasn't so over the top. You know, Temple of Doom. The only thing I could actually say about Temple of Doom is the mine shaft cars.
Oh, the mine.
The whole roller coaster thing.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sure. I mean, that car should have just flown off 100 times off the tracks, but it was a fun scene.
Yes.
That you just could, you're like, okay, I'll accept that. In the other movie,
The Last Crusade.
The Last Crusade, I can't think of anything that I would say that's crazy. I mean, there was like, there was them doing battle with the tanks, Indiana Jones trying to get the Cup of Christ. So there wasn't crazy things in there. There was also the chase, the boat chase in the beginning.
And then the
there
planes.
was a lot of
Yep, the plane. When he takes over a plane and he
Right.
has his father shoot and he accidentally shoots out the rear.
Yeah, exactly. That was fun. The only thing that maybe was a little crazy was the the fighter plane when in the tunnel when it loses its wings and then all of a sudden it passes right by the car and then you see the pilot like look at Indiana Jones and they look at each other.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, I'll take that.
And a Zeppelin.
Yeah, exactly. But man, they really went a little too far with the especially the the waterfall. Fall 3 times down a waterfall, but somehow they're still alive.
Oh, Temple of Doom?
No, in a Crystal Skull. Remember
they had to make the 3 falls to get to the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
But they also did that with Temple of Doom too, by the way. After they come out of to suspend your disbelief, me and Megan already covered this. It should be out in another couple of weeks. But in Temple of Doom, they come out of a plane with no parachute, but with a rubber life raft.
Oh, that is true.
And they fall down, and they hit not only 1 fall, but 3 falls just the same, and rapids on top of that.
Oh, okay.
So.
All right. Well, I stand corrected then. But you know what? Temple of Doom is still a lot more fun than than this movie. But no, you're right. And one thing you said, Mark, which I think it made the movie very stupid. I think it made Harrison Ford's character just seem very silly, was using the snake as a rope.
Mm-hmm.
Like him freaking out. Like, yes, he doesn't like snakes. But him freaking out the way he did and saying, you got to call it a rope. I'm like, man, you're a freaking professor, man. Not only did you call a nuclear bomb nuclear, I don't know. There's just something about his character. I feel like his character was just made sillier than what he's always like in all the other movies. Yes, Harrison Ford. His Indiana Jones is a person that cool character, great under pressure, thinks on his feet, adventurer. On this one, they really took him being old, I think, way too far. I think if they were gonna, fine, you want to show that, Indiana Jones has aged, but try to keep him as even if he's old, try to keep him as that cool old, under pressure kind of guy. And I just feel like, especially the snake scene was just like, really, that's, and they start arguing on the, about. Like, there were just so many little things that I think that they did in this movie. Him trying to explain the difference between quicksand and what was the other thing? He was trying to explain to him, like, to a mud, what the difference between quicksand and something else while they're sinking. There was just a lot of choices there. I was like, you're trying to go for this comic relief thing, and it just wasn't working very well. And that was my problem with the whole movie. It's just, I just felt like they threw the little things in there that really didn't feel like it worked as well as the other movies. But the other thing was the aliens as archaeologists.
The alien things aside, people think it's ridiculous. Like that doesn't make it any more ridiculous or less ridiculous. It just adds to the nuance of it. I didn't read too much into that. The thing sorry. Yeah, she's pretty fantastic to look at, I'm not gonna lie. I think me and Joe coined her a chameleon when we spoke about I think the last movie I saw with her was Don't Look Up on Netflix. And like I was like, man, like she like it's I thought she looked amazing when she was in Thor, and this is like 6 years later. I'm like, she hasn't changed, and like this movie's even older, and she looks the same. She hasn't changed a bit in like 15 years.
Well, she drinks the blood of children.
And probably, but yeah, I didn't read too much into that. The snake thing, it suspend disbelief, yes and no, but like knowing animals and stuff like that wouldn't work.
Well, first of all, if you're trying to pull a full-grown man out of like quicksand, I think you would have torn that snake in half.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Or you would have got bit in the face 8 times.
Yeah, but it's a rat snake, so it's not poisonous.
Yeah, no, it still bites you in the face. It's not fun. It's not pleasant.
You know, if they would have done the biting on the face, Harrison Ford getting bitten a few times, I would have gone for that. I'm like, all right.
Or he latches onto his arm and he gets pulled out like that. That'd be great.
Yeah.
It would make more sense. And then, like, when Shia LaBeouf throws him into the woods, and, like, it was so badly digitized. Because, like when he's using him as a rope, he's only, like, 8 feet long. And he throws him into the jungle, and the thing's, like, 20 feet long.
Yeah, I noticed that, too.
But again, like that, I was glad because in every movie there's something with snakes in it, and like they really waited a long time for the payoff on that one. Like usually it's in the first like 30 minutes of the movie that they hit up how much he hates snakes.
Right.
But yeah, the archaeologist thing didn't bother me too much. I mean,
again, I think to me it was the whole aliens thing, and then they wanted to make the aliens archaeologists, and then of course, the whole thing of it's all about knowledge. I think, like Mark, you were saying, I think if they would have left it with just the lore of the Crystal Skull, if you want to put El Dorado in there, that would be great. Sure. I mean, El Dorado has always been this, this big myth about, the Golden City and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just keep it earthbound. That's all they had to do.
Lost City of Gold.
Yeah.
They actually did that to not to show a reference to this and how it got influenced. If you remember National Treasure with Nick Cage, it does take that whole Indiana Jones vibe.
Right.
But with the whole taking the pellets or the gunpowder and using that to find the alien ship or whatever it was, a sarcophagus to get the skull out in Area 51. He kind of does that in the second movie with the water trick and looking to find that proper seal in order to get into the chamber to get the Lost City of Gold.
Right.
Now, mind you, I kind of favor that show because it's American history and put into some sort of historic and adventure like Indiana Jones. Like Nicolas Cage could be the next Indiana Jones, which is very odd. But I enjoy it nonetheless. We had Ed Harris.
Yeah, 100%.
But you could see where they took from that and those tropes as well, which makes sense to me. But when they go a little bit overzealous with, like you were saying, them being archaeologists, and I kind of feel the same way. It's like they could have hinted at it, alluded to it, and not just say, all right, blatant in your face, hold on, we got the skull, it's going to be put onto the skeleton and reinvigorate and start up this engine for this UFO to go back and then in the process kill all these Nazis. Very much like the Lost Ark, and when the Lost Ark is opened up, it melts everybody's faces. As long as you don't look at it, you're fine.
Right.
I do appreciate one thing in the research. I still, up until it's like you ever see those memes? Like I was today years old when I found this out. I'd never realized until I started researching some of the stuff for this conversation that Temple of Doom was a prequel to Original Lost Ark.
Yeah. Megan and I talked about that. She actually brought it up and it's the way he treats Charlie, and she, and then it's before he meets Marion, or goes back
Yeah.
to Marion. So
Right.
he had to go with the dumb blonde for a little while, and then realize, hold on, I need to go to the smart one that could outdrink every guy in the tavern.
Right.
But yeah,
Hold on, we're in the quicksand.
if you watch those movies out of sequence, if you watch Temple of Doom, then Raiders, and then go to, let's say, Last Crusade, and then go to this, you could easily do that, and then you won't
Right.
break continuity. They're just different adventures.
Yeah, no, and that's what makes those movies great. And again, I went back to see them, and all of them stand on their own, but at the same time, they all have like this great thing about it, which is a lot of fun. In Last Crusade, including Sean Connery in it, was phenomenal because he is such a great actor, and of course, pitting him against Harrison Ford, they just made such a great duo in that movie. I just didn't think, I just felt like Shia LaBeouf and Harrison Ford just didn't have any chemistry
No,
on screen
no,
at all.
no, they didn't mesh well as far as and they were together for the most of the part.
Right.
Kate Blanchett wasn't really all that much, but it's not a flack to her on her acting ability. It's just the way she portrayed the character. Now, another actress I could see that could actually fill in for that, and we could switch her out for, that would be Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
I could see her as that character, taking on a little bit more dark, but not with the cartoonistic version of how she speaks English from
Right.
German or Ukrainian.
Yeah, her character was so cartoonish. I mean, just with the haircut and the sword and all that stuff, just made it look way too stereotype, I think, or whatever
Hey,
it was.
That was a sexy haircut. So to go back to my research, and the reason why I'm doing this again, watching this for the third time. Yeah, it was 100%. The video quality on the disc is way better than the stream.
Oh, okay. All
It's
right,
weird.
so-
Yeah, because this is the scene. Like it looked, and going back to like you're talking about how this looks much more digital and sharp. I don't know if you've seen the re-release, the 4K ones.
Mhm.
They cleaned them up really well, and they look really good.
Oh, they look
So,
fantastic. Yeah. No, I tell everyone, you know what? I mean, you could stream, but keep buying your media, man, because it looks better.
this dude, yeah, it's wild, like how much better this looks, and like it's cohesive, like literally when I was watching it through Vudu, and like it's Dolby Vision or whatever it is, right, and 4K HDR. It's just like certain scenes it didn't have it. It wasn't a buffering thing. It was just
Right.
grainy looking, like it wasn't
But
mastered.
even with that, again, even with that conversion that they did in 4K, the first three movies still look like it was filmed. Like it doesn't. Like, there's a lot of practical effects in those films.
Yeah.
Very little digital stuff, I believe. The fourth movie was just a lot of digital elements into it that just it just took it out of what it looks like, from the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they did a lot of backlot filming
Correct.
where they just put in backgrounds.
But yeah, so I would think that, especially with the story, if I had to fix this movie, I mean, my story would have been probably sticking with, like Mark was saying, with either the story from China or the city of Atlantis or something like that, or just don't have the alien part of it, just have the City of Gold and the Crystal Skull lore into it, and I think that would have done done a much better job. And with the cast, like you were saying, Kate Blanchett, get rid of her, and definitely get rid of Shia LaBeouf.
Mm.
I don't even think that he needed to have a son, but whatever.
It had to move the story along for him to get to Oxley and then to actually see Marion for the first time.
Right.
So it kind of fit the story, but he didn't necessarily have to be there all along the way, Shia LaBeouf. He could have easily taken the information from the kid and ran off to look for Oxley himself and then happened upon Marion and Oxley.
But who would have raced the monkeys then? Come on, let's be real here. He wouldn't race the monkeys. He wouldn't have done his knife flip trick with his boots.
What he could have done was, just like he had Short Round, he could have had a monkey as a sidekick.
Man, if they could have brought Short Round back, that would have been great.
You see, I think that would have been a better choice. So, but hey,
Is Short Round's still alive?
Yes.
Is he?
Yeah, he's still around.
Look, Mark's like, I hung out with him last week.
No. We had to do research for Temple of Doom. He's still around. Key is actually a stuntman.
Oh,
No
really?
kidding.
Yeah. And
working for Hollywood or in
Hollywood.
or another? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he does stuff behind the scenes, and he was more than willing before Dick Donner had passed away. He was one of the people that really wanted to come back to do the Goonies.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, look at that. Well, they could have gotten him instead of Shia there with the haircut that he was actually. I mean, he combed that head like 15 times, man. It was just like,
so let's why don't we jump into like what our so we all know we've already covered like how we would change the story. Me personally, like I probably would have just left less of the alien stuff out and rolled with it and let the imagination take it, just like the other films did.
right.
But like we're talking about it, like let's get into who we would pick to replace the cast, or who, like, obviously I think all three of us have agreed, like literally this Henry Jr. would be the one to go.
Right.
And Mark said he would change Kate Blanchett for Tilda. I personally, like, I don't know if I would change Kate Blanchett for just I would just change how they address the character.
Right.
Like she doesn't have to wear a uniform with a hammer and sickle on the back of it. Like, we know she's a communist person. Like,
Get rid of the rapier.
yeah, and just like let her be. And like but then again, like I don't know. Well, it was a female antagonist in Last Crusade, right?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
Yes.
kind of forcefully. It was a love interest that turned into a antagonist.
A three-way, actually.
Yeah, because both the son and the father both had her at one point.
Rob, who would you recast for Henry Jr.?
If I had to recast him, like, if it had anything to do, if we're talking about not, sticking with actors at the time that the movie came out, I would choose Chris Pratt, and the reason was Chris Pratt was at one time rumored to come out in one of the Indiana Jones movies or in the last movie. Everybody thought that he would have been a great choice for being Indiana Jones' son.
Or being Indiana Jones himself. That was the rumor. That they
Was
would
that
actually...
the rumor?
Yeah.
I thought the rumor was that it was his son, but if the rumor was him, like, restarting the
They
franchise,
wanted to reboot it with him as a newer version. So, yeah. My thought, if we had to replace Shia with somebody else, if I couldn't get Christian Bale, next one would be Sean Patrick Flannery, who actually played young Indiana Jones himself.
and he did a great job. As a matter of fact, weren't they two actors in the young Indiana Jones?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One
no,
of
I
them.
think he would have done a good job too.
Wasn't the original River Phoenix?
Yep.
Yeah, but here's the thing about River Phoenix. River Phoenix, like, when I just watched that right before we got on, and man, he did such a great job at imitating Harrison Ford. His mannerisms, the facial expressions, the little things that you feel like are Harrison Ford. He did that very well.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Shia LaBeouf, if they would have shown, like, something of Harrison, of the character of Indiana Jones through Shia LaBeouf, then I would. But no, he's just a completely different character that just doesn't match. It does. Like, if somebody told me, "Hey, that's his son," I'd be like, "Hell no." No, it's not. I think they should have gotten Gary Coleman.
What?
He's dead.
Hold on. The monkey scene's
What
on.
you
I
talking
gotta
about,
watch
Dr.
this.
Jones?
Exactly. We talk about Dr. Jones. And then have Karen say, "This is your son," and he's gonna go, "I don't think so."
Oh wow.
That would have been a whole different movie towards the end. So, yeah, so that's actually our fantasy picks for this. I think it's a very
Whoa! I didn't get to pick my
You
guy
didn't get
yet.
to pick his guy.
You didn't get to. I thought you said you picked a monkey.
No, no, I'm not picking a monkey. These monkeys are having a silly race right now, and Shia LaBeouf's losing.
Yeah,
I like the Chris Pratt idea. It's ironic that we talked about it. Like if I had a choice of any time and place, River Phoenix would have been my pick because I loved him on the show, man. I thought he did such a good job, and like it would have been
you
awesome
think if
to see
River
the movie.
Phoenix was still alive, that they would have picked him?
To bring him
No,
back.
I know they couldn't because he was playing a young Indiana
Right,
Jones.
that's what I'm saying.
But like if that wasn't the case, I would have picked him because he just fit the part so well.
You did.
If I was picking from that time period,
Mhm.
I got one I could be a little funny with.
Oh God, here we go.
I would have now we didn't know back then, but I would have picked Ellie Page, who's now Elliot Page.
Oh my God.
I mean, she could have been his daughter. I think she would have like how good she does in
The Umbrella Academy.
that one, yeah, the Umbrella Academy. Like she has the perfect mix of like serious, kick ass, but can be funny, and that's like perfect for Indiana Jones. But honestly, like if I was being serious, like at the time he was just coming out, Zac Efron.
Very true.
Um,
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he's put together a pretty good. Damn killer ants. They distracted me. Yeah, it's so bad.
Stop watching the movie.
I can't help it.
It's like a train wreck. You
Um,
can't stop looking at it.
Exactly.
Like his just like his resume since that 2008 has been pretty damn good, and like obviously like going along with like why they picked Shia LaBeouf was like trying to get the audience that goes to pay to see these movies, like probably like 14 to 18-year-olds. Like it would have been a perfect pick
Right.
as far as money, and like he would have probably been cheaper at the time, and like he's got all the qualities, and they could have dirtied him up a little bit, and he would have been a perfect look for the movie, and would have been able to handle the role pretty well, as
Yeah.
long as they didn't have him comb his hair every 6 seconds.
I just think making him into a greaser was, I don't know, because they were trying to. I guess what they were trying to do was make him into like Marlon Brando.
Oh yeah.
Remember that scene, that role in Marlon Brando where he's like, with the leather jacket, and they wanted to make Shia LaBeouf look like that.
Right.
And I just like, well, you didn't have to do that. I mean, you could have done two extremes. You could have either done somebody who was just such a nerd, that it's just like, that he has no he wants no kind of adventure whatsoever, and nothing or done the other extreme where he's crazier than
Then yeah, Indy himself.
than Indy himself, where
Yeah.
even Indy is like, holy shit, even I wasn't like this. But yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of ways that a lot of directions the stories could have gone, and I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen with the fifth.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that Ford is in it, but he's not as active. Usually the focus is on something else. But that's kind of what leaked story plots were, and people are trying to
right.
shame it. I just look forward to see the movie when it comes out. We haven't even gotten a teaser trailer, but of
Right.
course Harrison Ford did halt filming because he got hurt on set again.
Well, at least he wasn't flying an airplane this time and crashing.
Yeah, but the Millennium Falcon's door slammed on his leg and broke that.
Yeah, and then after that, he was on an airplane and that actually crashed into a golf course or something like that.
Yeah.
And they told him, it's like, no, you can't. You can never fly while you're doing a movie. Period.
Yeah, he's a risk right now.
Yeah.
He's worse than Robert Downey Jr. was in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, but that's because of drugs. But then again, flying is a drug, I guess, for somebody. All right. So, anything else on that, Ralph? I mean,
No, we're good. I mean, I just saw the money shot where she killed the ant with her knees. No, that's honestly, I think they did a pretty good job of picking. Even like the main bad Russian guy who got eaten by ants that I'm watching right now, like he was probably the perfect guy for that part. The way he pulled it off when he's getting pulled into the ant, it looked great.
Well, he has the face for it. Like if you look at it
Yeah.
again, I think the Russians in this movie, they really made them as cartoonish as possible.
Well,
I still don't understand how, like, I do love how, like, the crystal skull, like, for whatever reason, scares the ants away.
you were talking about Andrew Divoff right now. That's why, and Andrew Divoff played the genie or the djinn, and what's the name of that horror movie about the genie? But he's notorious for playing those evil roles. He's
The
perfect.
Djinn?
Yeah.
Yeah,
The Djinn, right?
I
It
think
was
so.
called the Djinn or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't realize he was the monster in that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
Right,
he
we
just
can
has he has a very cartoonish face. I don't know.
Oh,
Like I
yeah,
said, I think all
100%.
the Russians, they just made him look too like slapstick. I think almost to the point. Nowadays, you can't villainize anybody, from what I hear. So, and I think in today's world, they probably would have made Mutt a female character, like
Yeah.
you were saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
ain't that right, Ralph?
Yeah, and the efforts of being politically correct and proper. I'm gonna plead the fifth.
All right, so I think just to kind of wrap it up on the story of the Crystal Skull, we know that we would have changed Shia LaBeouf, we would have changed Kate Blanchett, probably would have done one of the other stories that we were talking about. And anything on your part, Ralph?
No, I mean, that's pretty solid. I mean, there, like I said, like the story would just like, do less of some of the dumb storytelling.
Right.
And I by dumb storytelling it's treating the audience like morons and like, oh, this is what happens, this is what we're doing, this is why we're here, and let people just either imagine it or figure it out.
Right.
And I think just the one. I mean, maybe the Kate Blanchett character could be recast, but like definitely Shia LaBeouf. I mean, he doesn't bother me that much in this movie. I just think it's how it's just like with Kate Blanchett's character. It's how they address the character and
Right.
the nuances and the way they make
listen,
him act.
I mean, the one thing I know about Shia LaBeouf is he is a good actor. He's just kind of crazy.
Well, he
Yeah.
went crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, he went nuts.
Because he was in this movie and he looked at the crystal skull too long.
Well, when he was in the movie Fury, the one with Brad Pitt that it was in World War II.
Yeah.
And the makeup that just to show you how far he would go. I mean, he cut himself on his face because he felt that the makeup effect that they didn't look real enough.
Yikes.
Yeah, so that's how crazy he was, and he came out in he's come out in some crazy like independent movies.
Mm-hmm.
He likes doing that kind of stuff, but yeah, so that's our wrap up for for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Again, a movie that is somewhat entertaining to see, but it's never going to measure up to the first three movies. Hopefully, the next movie coming out is going to be actually a lot better. But besides that, I want to briefly talk about a movie that came out a long time ago called Dungeons and Dragons. And this movie is one of those movies that I'm going to ask you guys, should it have ever been made?
No.
And like I'm not a big Dungeons and Dragons. Like I have friends that have played it, and God knows, in my 41 plus years on this planet, like I know a lot of people that actually played Dungeons and Dragons. It's such a popular, iconic game that yes, it deserves the film treatment because it does have good lore to it and story.
Right.
But it deserves more of a Peter Jackson type treatment where it's like a movie that's in 3 parts because there's a lot of storytelling to it.
But here's the problem with that. The problem with Dungeons and Dragons is that it's a made up story.
Yeah.
Everybody who plays it is going to play their own story.
Correct.
So that's why for me, like when the cartoon first came out, it was fun. And we grew up with the cartoon, we liked the cartoon, but when this story came out, first of all, they got one of the Wayans brothers to actually be in the show, in the movie, which was kind of like, all right, so you have him there for comedy relief, And the other one was Jeremy Irons, an amazing actor. You could tell that he was just doing this for the money because he hems it up so much.
Mm-hmm.
He goes way overboard. So, but it was such a horrible movie. And the problem with Dungeons and Dragons is that to bring it to life nowadays is you can't do anything that we haven't seen already. I mean, Game of Thrones had basically castles, dragons, wizards and all that stuff. You had also the Lord of the Rings movies. So what can Dungeons and Dragons right now bring that those movies can't bring?
Nothing really at this point. Nothing new,
Right.
nothing interesting, unless role playing games like that are coming back now as a trend.
Right.
And that's the only thing it's grasping. Now, if they kind of do it in a sense of follow people that are actually playing the game and see it in their minds and how they're creating their own character and it's interacting, and they
Right.
go from reality of them playing it to the visual of the game, that would be an interesting concept. Very similar to which was a movie that came out in the 70s or late 70s, early 80s called Mazes and Monsters, and it had Tom Hanks in it.
Yeah.
And that was okay for a TV film, but that was low budget. But
Yeah,
with
that,
this,
that TV show actually gave Dungeons and Dragons such a bad name.
oh, it did, because it made people who were crazy look and fantasize like Tom Hanks did. It's like he was
Right.
ready to kill himself and jumping off a building, and it's like,
yeah. Even my mom was like, "Oh, don't play that game. I hear that it makes you crazy." I'm like, "Really, Mom? That's not the real deal."
That's not the real
Doesn't
deal.
have-
But
Yeah,
if they took the concept of the actual game itself and made a story based upon it, and then have a group of people, and its story starts around them, very much like
Right.
Stranger Things, where they were playing Dungeons and Dragons and listening to Rush, they could
Right.
create that same and then literally have them talk about their character, their build-ups, their powers, whatever they have, and they focus in on the board, and then those people become in this mindset of them playing the game. And then they could
Right.
always go back to those characters, and just this is just me spitting out theories and thoughts of what a good movie would be like that, based upon a board game like that.
Right. I mean, and right now there's actually on Amazon there's the show called Vox Machina, which I think is based off of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it's an actual campaign that was done and was recorded from what I hear, and then all of a sudden they decided to make an animation for it. If they could do something like, have you watched Vox Machina yet?
No.
No, it's actually
No.
hilarious. It's hilarious, and it's the type of thing where I could see. Because Mark, have you played Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, I played it in high school.
Yeah, I did too. Ralph, have you?
Not the card type games. I don't have the.
They're not cards. Oh, you
What do you
really
mean?
never played any role playing games?
No, he plays the
Like I played
RPGs.
role playing video games, not like real like board games or real life games.
Okay. Well, I mean, the point of the whole thing is you have one person that directs the story, and the other people are the players.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so, but this one, Vox Machina, the great thing about it is that you could tell that this was the way the campaign was being played, because it is the raunchiest shit that you have ever freaking seen. It's a fun animation, and I recommend people watching it. I mean, it's not for kids, definitely.
I hope not.
If
Check it
yeah, if the whatever movie, if they are going to make a new movie, I mean, they're going to have to come up with something like that, something very original.
Yeah.
That you could use that because
No, they're making it. It's supposed to be coming out next year.
really,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I haven't heard anything on that. I mean, but hey, I guess it might make it on the list of of bad movies, and we'll cover it one day.
Yeah, like World of Warcraft.
Ooh.
I actually bought that like on Black Friday for like $3 and like still haven't watched it.
Yeah, still haven't watched it. I was
Nah,
saying,
I don't have the capacity for that, man.
have you taken it out of the wrapper?
Yeah, probably just to put it because like movies like that I would watch on like a flight.
Okay. No, I was gonna say if you haven't taken it out of the wrapper, leave it in the wrapper. It's the best. So, all right, guys. So yeah, that's actually pretty much for our show today. Yeah. So Kingdom of the Crystal Skull sucks, but still watchable.
100%. This is episode 3, so we're on a an upward climb from we started at the bottom, and
with
like John Carter was enjoyable but like annoying, and then this I could probably watch a couple more times.
Oh, okay.
In the same year, not in like the same week. This is technically the second full time I've gone through it today, and like
you're done. All right, man. So, Mark, where can they find you?
I have 2 podcasts that you could actually hear me on. Currently, right now, Panels to Pixels podcast. You can be found on the Next Level online podcast radio network. I'm sure Ben's going to hate me for keep getting it wrong, but I don't have my paperwork in front of me. But just search for Panels to Pixels podcast. Currently, I'm not on it. I'm a hiatus on it, but Steve Brown, who's my co-host, he's hosting it, and he's covering The Witcher. And he's also covering Snowpiercer. So he's
nice.
covering Witcher with our friend Lara, and he's covering Snowpiercer with our friend Daphne. I'll be back on Panels to Pixels podcast to start covering Moon Knight when that comes in at the end of March. And I'll be back on that. So just search for that. You can find it in any podcast player of choice.
Cool.
You could also find me on the Adrenaline Cinema podcast, and I've already mentioned it. We've recorded it. It's not out yet. My friend Megan and I cover Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. We talk a lot about the movie. I think we went almost 2 hours on it. So you'll have a lot to hear from me. We go into deep dives. So you could find that on any podcast player of choice, or you could just go to the piratecoreentertainment.com site where all the other podcasts on my network are.
Awesome. And you, Ralph, are you on the Twitters or anything like that, or on Facebook?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not on social media. I stay away. I still have a MySpace profile. I don't know if that's still even active. But
okay. Well, Ralph is a little behind on the that, but yeah, you can find us on Instagram on Fantasy Picks Movie Edition. You can also find us on Twitter and find us on Facebook. So, well, I want to thank everybody for joining us, and hopefully we will see you next time, man. So, peace.
All right, later, everybody.
All right.
Gallimard.
Shook the day.
All right, let me stop recording. You idiot. You're an ass, man.